Hi, Dr. Bridget here with another prescription for success. Following on from last week, we're now going to talk about using NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, to dissociate from negative states, and it's a technique that will be useful for you and useful to hand on to other people. So, why would we want to help people dissociate from negative states? Really, it's because, it's uncomfortable. So maybe when people are sort of in the state and looking through their own eyes, they feel maybe sad or scared or angry. And, it's a bit like one of those paths in the forest which, you go down so many times and it's all overgrown and you never really get anywhere and you get stuck and you're still in that story that you've created for yourself, which isn't useful. And when we're in that negative state, then we quite often find it much easier to find other negative states. And then we stop taking action. So what is dissociation? So it's removing yourself from, an emotional state or a situation that you've got in your head that's stopping you from moving forward. And it's really like stepping outside or being a bit of the fly on the wall. And I don't know if you've ever tried that, but I find it a really useful technique if I'm doing some negative emotions and I just put myself fly on the wall and have a look at myself. I think, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? That's ridiculous, because the emotions tend to go in a dissociated state. So how do we do that? So both in NLP and other sort of modalities, you can just break state. So in NLP on courses we say, can you smell popcorn? Or we ask people to look up and repeat their mobile number backwards, the last 4 digits. And really that's just taking you into using your other senses, and that's dissociating you. We can just say stop. So that's a pattern interrupt. So if someone's doing some negative emotions, if you've got good rapport with them and you pre-framed it, you might say stop, because they're just doing the pattern and they hadn't realised. And if you create stop as part of that pattern, then they will start to stop themselves from doing it. We can change our physiology, so I usually tell people to go off and do star jumps or run around the garden or have a little twiddle round, do a bit of a dance. Just changing your physiology state changes your emotional state and dissociates you. Or maybe you can even do, use some fun. If you've got good enough rapport with someone, then you can actually start to scramble what they're doing in their head and have a bit of a laugh. I always remember doing a phobia with someone who had a phobia of woodlice, which she'd got from finding her grand's handbag in the garden and opening it, and lots of woodlice came out, and it was stopping her from doing anything in the garden. And we just scrambled that up using a phasphobia technique, but also with some laughter, and those woodlice went down to, I think it was the Bird in my steg, and to a nightclub and had a few drinks, and in the end it got quite funny, and the whole thing just disappeared. And also, as well, as if someone's shifting their emotional state, you can shift yours as well with them, and then create new states and new neurological pathways. It's almost like having that new path in the forest where the old one's overgrown and you can't get anywhere, and the new one is just sort of like straight ahead and fun and good news for your life, really. So those are how you use dissociation. That's how you use dissociation to get out of an emotional state. And putting that together with association from last week, quite often what NLP will do is associate someone into a problem, then dissociate them using one of these techniques maybe, or language patterns, and then give them loads and loads of resources, and then ask them to look back at the negative state that they had, which then just disappears. So fascinating stuff, really useful to do if you want to come on a course and learn how to do all that sort of thing, or to get rid of any negative states that you've got. Then just give me a shout. We can work out which is the best way for you to do that and get started. So I'll see you next week. Have fun. Bye.